fly free. I believe, oh, I believe. Will you dream with me?
Good morning, everyone out there. Welcome to Changing Times. I tell you what, Don, June the 3rd, Wednesday, I tell you, this year is passing by. And I want all the listeners to know out here that we are live in Springfield, Missouri at the Axe Media Group Network, right in West Kearney on Springfield, Missouri. Still raining a little bit out there this morning. And every Wednesday at 10 a.m., we are live on this network on I guess 4 different types of social platforms. And Don's going to tell you about that. And 45 minutes is kind of rapid discussion. Just always have professional guests just like we do today. We got great guests, and we're always talking about real issues, real discussions. We've got a great one today, and we're going to do a series of it because it's so important about drug and alcohol addiction. And Don, I'm Lynn Morris, and
I'm Don Blackard.
And so, Don, how do people watch our show? And then we've got a contest, and then we got some events going on.
Absolutely. Well, we have a great promotion going on right now. That is, you can win $100 just for being an active member of Axe Media Group. So if you're watching this on a different platform, go over to Axe Media Group and like our page, and then you can follow us. Also, Lynn, if they miss our show live, they can come back and watch it at any time. It's housed there at AMG. You'll see that gold globe up in the left-hand side, and just like that, and you can follow us. We have a phenomenal promotion right now. We had a business owner put up $100, and they want everyone to know about CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocate. And so we really need more CASAs in the community. I got a book that I saw that there's over 100 kids currently waiting right now to have a CASA member walk beside them. And so we're going to have a commercial later on CASA, but if you don't know about CASA, get really familiar with it. And if you're looking to give back and make the difference in a kid's life, then CASA's for you.
Oh, very good. And then, Don, I think Jan and I will give $100 next week. We're going to keep this thing going. So we're going to continue to get more and more people to watch this. We really appreciate everyone watching our show. And talking about our show, what I want you to do is please share this with family members and friends, church friends, work friends, whatever you have, all your neighbors, because this show is definitely something that will help someone out there. And it's seen all over this country and in other countries too. And then, Don, if they share it, more people would get more people, they have a better chance to win, right?
Yeah, if you're an active member, it increases your chances. So share and like, and you could win $100. So we're going to have $100 going to somebody that follows Axe Media Group.
Well, very good. And then very quickly, we do have a couple of events coming up. So we have the Sertoma Duck Race, June 18th and June 19th. And this is an awesome event. Believe it or not, in Ozark, Missouri, down by the Finley River, where Don and I are both Christian County residents, there will be 15 to 25,000 people. I have a feeling it'll be 25,000 this year because of the pent-up demand of people not being able to get out and have family fun. This is a great atmosphere. They have the Moon Glow, which supports they have these hot air balloons, they call it Moon Glow, where they tether them up and down, and they're just so beautiful at night at the park. And so this is the Finley River Park. And that helps the Smile Center, the Medicaid Smile Center, which is, there's about 4 or 5 of them in the area in different counties. And so that's really great. It helps Dogwood Ranch, which we've had them over here. They're a great group of family-oriented group that helps young women, and they stay there and things like this. So, and what was the other sponsor?
Care to Learn.
Care to Learn. Care to Learn. So definitely another great organization that actually Doug Pitt started, Care to Learn. And you can buy one duck, multiple ducks, or a flock of ducks. Yeah,
so I'm thinking I might get the flock this year.
Well, how many is a flock?
I think it's 12.
12. Well, I will tell you, I've never bought more than 10, but I have bought over 100. And my ducks have never been very good swimmers. In fact, I've seen some of my ducks swim the wrong way down the river, which I think is impossible because the current is taking them all down, and they drop thousands of ducks out, and then the winning they're going to win a car. There's all kinds of things you can win if you've got the lucky duck, and I've never had that. So I will try again. And Jan, I'll be there too. So we hope people can go there. And then, next week we're going to have the celebration of Flag Day. And Flag Day is a neat deal. We'll talk about it later, but we will have guests on next week to talk about the Flag Day and honoring our flag and the meaning and significance of our United States flag. So are we ready to get started?
We're ready.
All righty.
Well, we're going to talk about a subject today that we really want to shine a spotlight on, and we really want to help lose the stigma of the subject of addiction. There are so many people that are walking through this, and there's a lot of misconceptions with it. I think some people think it's only in the bad neighborhoods or in the bad families, but let me tell you, addiction knows no boundaries, and it's in the best of the homes and it's in the best of the communities. And to think that you might not be affected is just really kind of ignorant. So we're trying to really shine light on this subject and show that there is life after addiction. And there's people out there that are currently struggling. They're currently walking through this. And so thankful to have two awesome guests on today. My first guest is Danielle. And she is just phenomenal. She is a beacon of hope and a warrior walking through this thing called addiction. And a lot of families, from my viewpoint, they look at addiction like Goliath. I mean, he's big, it's a giant, it's massive, but you're showing that it can be slayed, it can be beaten, and just so happy to know you. And my dad, Pastor Blackard, started a program called Renewed Treasures almost 10 years ago, and that's how I was able to meet Danielle. And we're just so grateful for her and just so thankful. And a little bit of a side story, I was rebaptized 3 years ago when my son decided to get baptized. And so my dad baptized us both. And right when I came up out of the water, I turned around and was able to take a picture because Danielle was baptized right after me. So I joke that we are definitely sisters in Christ. Danielle, just go ahead and tell us a little bit about what is your life like today? What does your life look like going on right now?
Well, I'm a first mother. I have 4 children, beautiful children, ranging from 17 down to 10 months old. I work a full-time job at Burrell Behavioral Health. I try to do as much ministry as I can, and I still try to make time outside of work and everything else to stay involved in the recovery community and the ministry community. I make good decisions for my family. I know what hope looks like. I see a future for not just myself, but for my children. And I know that we are building a good relationship, all 4 of us.
Now, take us back to what life was like when you were in addiction and any advice that you would give to someone that's currently walking through that.
So I'll spare all the details. It's a long story, but I'll just say that a little over 3 years ago, about 3.5 years ago, I was homeless here in Springfield. And I was so heavy in addiction that you couldn't recognize me now for who I am. I have scars all over my body. I would pick up dirty needles off of the ground and use them. That's how deep in addiction I was, just to give you a little detail there. And the stigma on addiction is real. And I didn't have the perfect childhood, but I certainly didn't have any reason, to become an addict the way that I was, if you will, from what most people say.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get right back with your story.
Enter the talent contest at Axe Fest. $10 entry, $50 to winner, Axe Media Group.
Your sandwich was so limited.
Your sandwich had a lot of butt.
Well, we're back at Changing Times, and we're talking about addiction today. And we were just getting into Danielle's story. So if you could just keep telling us about what life was like when you were bound by addiction.
Yeah. I was just hopeless. I didn't know what a normal life felt like. I was afraid to walk into any business for fear of getting kicked out. Or I would walk around with my head down, no eye contact with humankind because I didn't feel human anymore. And that's one of the main things that I think that a lot of people in addiction and homelessness and mental illness feel is that they don't exist anymore to a regular life. And we don't know what that looks like, and we don't know anything else. So that was probably the most binding thing, was just not feeling like a regular human being or worth having anything, especially a home and a job and just a life in general. Had no contact with my children or my family. Basically, the devil had taken everything from me and convinced me that that's all I was worthy of. So
now, I've seen you in action in ministry, and I've seen you when we did an event where we fed, I don't know, maybe 1,000 hot dogs down on Commercial Street just to love on people. And you would seek out those people who had their head down, who was looking at the ground, who just had that hopelessness look. And I would see you, lift their head up and just look right in their eyes and give them a message of hope and tell them there is hope. There is life after addiction. For somebody who's going through it, what would you tell them about seeking help and finding that hope?
Well, first of all, I know what it's like to be told that there are so many resources out there. Why don't you just find one? The first thing you need to do is surrender. Surrender it all. There are a lot of resources. And the first thing is surrender, I guess, is what I would say. There is hope out there. There is a future. What the lies that are being said to you in your ear that's what they are. They're lies. You are worthy. You were created for a purpose. This is not where the Lord would have you at all. And that there is hope for a future. We are promised that.
Yeah. Well, we thank you so much for telling your story. Lynn, do you have any questions?
Yeah, let me ask you a question or two. So, Danielle, how did you get started with your addiction issue? So, did you start out with maybe pain pills? How did you didn't just start out with using injections to begin with, did you?
No,
not?
sir.
So, where did you start? Where's your starting point?
I would say it was with alcohol when I was a very young girl.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And then that moved into prescription, and then that moved into marijuana. There's a statistic actually that says that our teenagers are the thing that they start out with or are most addicted to are hallucinogens, prescription drugs, and inhalants, the things that are readily available. It's not always the illegal drugs like you were saying earlier.
So let me ask you this. So as a pharmacist, when you were getting prescription drugs, legal drugs, did you start going from doctor to doctor? Did you do doctor shopping?
I did. Absolutely. Yeah.
One of the things that I find interesting is in Jefferson City, we, for 8 years, we tried to pass PDMP in Missouri, Prescription Drug Monitoring Program. All 49 other states have it. And I tried so hard the last 3 years, and I would get up on the floor in front of the other 162 state reps. And as a pharmacist, I had a story to tell about prescription drug shopping and things like that. All my 26 pharmacies were connected real time. So we could catch somebody. So when they had an OxyContin prescription and they came from Sparta, Missouri, and now 20 minutes later, they presented in Ozark, Missouri with another prescription, we could catch it. But most of the pharmacies are not connected. And that's why you have to have something like a PDMP program. We're going to actually have Holly Rader, Senator Rader, who I worked with as a House rep, on our show at the very end of June to tell people about the prescription drug monitoring program. But very interesting. So I want people to know this as we do this 3-part series on addiction, that for most people, it starts off with alcohol, and you said it exactly right, the way I'm seeing it over and over again. Alcohol, then some prescription drugs, maybe marijuana, and you just kind of progress yourself. You didn't just automatically use fentanyl or something like that. You progressed. And at some point, if we can catch those people before they progress up to those higher narcotics, then we can prevent a lot of deaths and things like that. Well, I just want to congratulate you because you are an awesome lady, and you now are helping other people.
Amen.
She has a beautiful new little baby boy, and he's just super cute.
Right.
And I wanted to say one more thing about Bureau Health. I was looking them up, and they're so blessed to have you over there. But I loved what the CEO said. And he wrote this out and he says, "We believe that the conversation about behavioral health is paramount. There are few conversations facing our communities more critical than behavioral health. As the conversation evolves, Bureau is committed to being a leader in the post-stigma world." And so we're glad to just kind of kick that stigma a little bit today about addiction, because too many people are have shame built up, and we want to show people that there's life after addiction.
Well, that's very good. And honestly, Bureau Mental Health, as a pharmacist, since I had all my stores since 1977, so for 42 years, Bureau Mental Health has been a tremendous part of the community in reaching out with behavioral disorders. And so I'm glad you're working there. You're working at a great place. And you know what? Just tell them if they want to be on our show, we'll get them on our show too.
All right.
And talk about all the great things that they do. Well, we're going to switch gears now. How much more time do we have before our next break?
Well, I believe 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with our second guest, Andy White. So, Andy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Lynn.
Well, thanks for coming. And I tell you what, so you work for a fantastic organization. I know a little bit about them because they have a facility in Rogersville where I had a pharmacy. They also have a facility in Ozark, Missouri. I was at the ribbon cutting 2 years ago. It is a beautiful setting. Both of them are just beautiful buildings and things like that. So tell us where you work and a little bit about that operation. And we've got some questions to ask you.
Yeah, excellent. I work for a company called Synergy Executive, and we are the men's inpatient treatment program part of the larger company. We also have, you mentioned the women's facility in Ozark, and we actually have an outpatient counseling center off of Republic Road by Republic and Fremont, roughly. And so what we do is we treat addiction issues in a very holistic manner. We realize that oftentimes what leads people to addiction is not necessarily just the substance, but a lot of other factors in their life that they don't know how to cope with. So on top of helping people get the resources that they need to combat the actual addiction side of things, so much of it is working with them to develop, good communication skills, distress tolerance, being able to manage their mental health, being able to communicate openly and honestly with the people in their lives. And so we approach the whole person and the whole situation, because regrettably, addiction isn't something that just happens in a bubble. It affects the entire system that person is in.
Well, and so you got the women's center in Rogersville, and you got the men's center in Ozark. Not sure how much more time we have, but just very quickly take us through a day. So when I wake up in the morning, if I'm at the men's center and I wake up in the morning, what time are you going to wake me up?
Typically, we start our day about 7:30, and we usually have
perfect.
Some type of physical activity, either yoga, Pilates, pickleball. We have personal trainers.
I'll play pickleball.
Well, they do quite a bit, so we encourage that. Yeah,
cool.
Then we have breakfast at 8:30, as well as kind of an emotional check-in and setting goals for the day. We do education class from 9 to 10, group process from 10:30 to noon. In the afternoon, we do a variety of educational classes. We have nutritionists that come in. We also have a lot of holistic resources like masseuse, acupuncturist, cupping, massage therapy, the whole kind of 9 yards. And then dinner at 6. After that, a little bit of free time, as well as some kind of additional wrap-up and educational activities in the evening, and let the guys kind of decompress, because part of what we try and treat is not just the idea that you shouldn't use drugs. That's everyone involved just kind of has that idea.
Okay, hold that thought, and we're going to do another commercial in 20 seconds, and we'll be back on the air again.
Guess who cleans for less? Who? Me?
No.
Him.
How do we get back into the workforce?
I got you.
Who was that woman?
All right, Andy. So we're back. Andy White with Synergy. And so you were talking about the evening, what they're doing after dinner and some free time.
Absolutely. One of the things that I think really is a struggle for people trying to get sober in a community setting is that you have lots of information saying don't do drugs. However, what you don't have is a lot of opportunities and education about what to replace that with, how you can enjoy life and have fun and build connections outside of being in that cycle of addiction that you're in. So a lot of our facilities are about kind of the guys being able to reconnect with healthy male relationships, build friendships, enjoy a lot of the activities that we enjoy while sober, and seeing those as viable opportunities other than continued use.
Well, very good. So kind of like what Danielle was talking about, do you see people with all type? I mean, do you see people coming in with pain pill addiction only? And then do you see people with alcohol? I know you do.
Yeah.
And then how about serious injectable things like cocaine, heroin?
Yeah, no, we see people
fentanyl.
all over the spectrum. Traditionally, our clientele up until now largely has been alcohol based, but we treat people with mental illness. We treat people with severe IV drug abuse. We treat people trying to get off prescription medications. So it's all about being able to move away from having to rely on this substance or this psychoactive, component in order to feel good about yourself. Because really, at the end of the day, that's kind of what addiction is. It's the idea that you don't like what's going on in your life, so you have to turn to something external to try and escape those negative feelings. And so regardless of what that is, we work to try and get people comfortable in their own skin and feeling mentally healthy enough to be able to address life on life's terms and not feel that need to escape.
So Andy, what's the typical length of treatment? I know it probably varies from person to person, but I mean, generally, how many weeks and months does it take to really get a person back to a more near normal?
Well, like you said, it's a very personal kind of process. At the inpatient level, we'll usually have people between 30 and 45 days. And from then, we always encourage people to step into what we call an IOP, or an intensive outpatient program. And that's where they would be involved in treatment-based activities 3 days a week for about 3 hours, just to kind of give them that continued support and kind of step them down to give them a little bit more freedom, a little bit more time in the community to kind of manage themselves, but at the same time, having access to as much therapeutic resources as they need to kind of maintain the progress that they are able to make in inpatient.
So for those people, when they're doing that, can they go back to their home state? Because I know that not everybody in your facilities is from Missouri, are they?
Yeah, absolutely. That's correct. In fact, we've had people from Canada that have come down. So yeah, a lot of times we can connect people either with IOP programs in their facility, or our IOP program we do via telehealth, or kind of like a Zoom meeting type of deal, to where they can still be connected with us if they've formed relationships with our program. And we can continue to help them regardless of the geographic location.
Because I want to point this out to the listeners. So Danielle, when you really knew that you were going to break this habit and you were going to stop this demon that was causing you to be addicted, how many times did you try before you were successful?
Honestly, countless times. I've been through many programs, many recovery programs. It took me a lot of times, but
so you can't give up, right?
No, sir.
Can't give up. And so,
Absolutely.
So what's really good about your program is obviously you're going to do the very best you can to get that person to a stable state in 30 to 45 days. And then after that, some of them may not need a lot of help, but a lot of them probably will. And they're going to have some, and it doesn't mean that they're not good people or the system didn't work. It's just going to happen. And so when they fall down, they got to pick themselves back up, and they got to seek that extra training help that you talked about.
Yeah. How I like to have people understand substance abuse as well as a relapse is we have to see substance abuse as a coping skill. It's not a functional coping skill, but it is how that person knows how to deal with their problems. And so once someone has gotten treatment or started working to try and get sober, if there is a relapse, that's not a moral or spiritual failing. Truly what it is they've come across a situation that they don't have a coping skill to deal with, and then they revert to what they know works. And so if someone is trying to get sober and they do begin to struggle again, that's not a sign that they haven't learned anything or that they don't want to get sober. It's that they've hit this wall and they don't have an answer. And so everyone that we treat and everyone that I talk to, I always say, look, you're gonna get to this point. And part of what helps people move from being in that cycle to being sober is the willingness to kind of reach out and learn from other people and try and find different coping skills for situations that they don't know how to deal with. And that's really where I think the stigma prevents a lot of people from getting and staying sober, is they'll start to have problems, but they don't want to appear weak, or they don't want to scare their family, or they don't want to worry, or they don't know what to do. And so they just return to the familiar because their brain is always going to say, hey, I remember what worked, even though it wasn't necessarily working for them. So that is, I think, why it's so important to have conversations like this, to pull the stigma away, to be able to say that, no one in active addiction is like, man, my life is going great. They all desperately want to change. It's just a lack of understanding how that process works and having the supports in place to help them stumble through and figure out what's going to actually work for them. Because there is no one size fits all treatment. It's all about the individual and kind of connecting what resonates with them and the answers that work for them. So yeah, it's very frustrating. It's, I completely empathize with the families and the loved ones of the people in addiction, and they're so much a part of the process as the individuals struggling themselves. But it is truly about being able to have compassion and, acceptance of the fact that, hey, this person is wanting to change, but change is hard. We all have things that we would love to change about ourselves, but they're not a wave of a magic wand or a snap of a finger. It's about shifting everything in your life. And that takes, attempts and false starts and failures and going back to the drawing board. And so loving those people in addiction and really supporting them, that's what needs to change. It needs to stop being this is a personal choice, this is a failing. And it needs to be hey, we can educate you and help you and catch you when you struggle.
Very good. I don't understand why our U.S. government, this problem has been going on forever. I mean, this is probably since the beginning of mankind, we've had addictions and like this. Mm-hmm. And so, depending on what study you look at, somewhere between 21 and 45 million people out of our population. What do we have? 335 million people. Is that what our U.S. population? Somewhere
Sounds
around
good.
there. And so you're thinking about 20 to 40 million people that have some type of addiction like what we're talking about today. So I want all the people out there to know that there's a lot of people just like you. If you've got an addiction out there and you're watching this today, or maybe you have a family member, maybe a son, a daughter, maybe a grandchild, they're normal people. They just need help, and we can't give up, and we've got to conquer this. $600 billion a year is what it costs the United States economy every year just for the fact that these people can't be productive, okay? Mm-hmm. $600 billion a year to our U.S. economy. This is something I don't understand why, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, or I don't care who you are, why you don't work on these problems. This is a social issue problem that's very serious. But I'm really proud you guys are JACO accredited.
That's correct.
And you also are accredited through the state of Missouri Behavioral Health.
Yes, that's correct. The Department of Mental Health.
And that's awesome. I'll tell you about JACO because I was the chief operating officer at Columbia HCA in Springfield for 3 years. Most people don't know that, but I was running a hospital in Springfield. And are we time for another break?
1 minute.
1 minute. And so I did that hospital. I had 7 or 8 stores back then. I didn't have as many as I did at the end, but to be JACO approved, JACO accredited, it takes a lot of work. We would spend 6 months to a year just making sure everything was correct for our patients and patient safety and patient outcomes before we were inspected. And it took a week to inspect our hospital.
Absolutely.
And so kudos to you guys for that. When we come back after we take a break, I want you to make sure that we tell the listeners, because you've got people right now watching and hearing this from other states, as well as Missouri. And we need to tell people how to get a hold of you, find out more information, phone numbers, website, email address. We'll get that going. But I tell you what, both of you, just a tremendous testimony today. And this is just the start of a 3-part series. And this is so critical that we know that somewhere out there, we're going to help somebody today. you can't just give up. I mean, all of us have failures, even successful people. The reason why a lot of people are successful is because they are able to pull themselves back up and go again. And they just keep trying and keep trying. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back. All right, Andy, we're back. And how do people get a hold of the Synergy Group to find out more about men's and women's treatment?
Well, the easiest way, Lynn, is going to go to synergyexecutive.com. That is kind of the web portal for the men's treatment facility. We have the ability to email us, call us, message us directly. And from there, we can kind of get you fit into whatever program is going to be best for you. So that is kind of a one-stop shop.
So Synergy Men's Executive.
Just synergyexecutive.com.
Okay, synergyexecutive.com.
That's correct.
Okay, now that will get you the men's information?
Absolutely. Well, and you know, if they contact, even if you're a female in need and you contact the men's facility, we are happy to get you where you need to go. That's just one of the easiest ways to reach us for whatever service you need.
Do I suppose that maybe if somebody is interested, they might come and can they go visit your facility and meet some staff? And
absolutely.
You have people that come and just kind of check you out?
We do have tours that we'll give for prospective people that are wanting to come into our facility. Also, we've put a lot of effort to our website to have, you know, all of the counselors on there, all of the information. We have a wonderful kind of pictorial and visual tour if it is kind of impossible to come and visit in person. You know, we try and really put in truth in advertising. What you see on the website is what you get. A lot of times in treatment facilities, they will have this image of what things are. But, you know, for us, we really try and put the truth out there. And, you know, we are a small facility. We have 10 men's beds and 8 women's beds. And at each facility, we have, you know, 4 counselors that are dedicated to those individuals in treatment. So we really focus on a lot of, you know, contact with your counselors, a lot of contact with, you know, staff. So it's not a situation where you'll be thrown in with 50, 60, 100 other people trying to figure out what to do. There's always going to be someone there that can personally kind of help guide you in whatever you're struggling with in that moment. And you aren't just a number. You know, we have private bedrooms and chefs on site that cook all of the meals. I mean, it is truly a place where we pour coping skills onto you. So that way you can feel human again, as Danielle put it, and start to reconnect what it's like to be and enjoy life.
Well, that's awesome. So what I'm getting out of that is because of that 8 and 10 census you have between women and men, I mean, you're going to get, and with 4 counselors on each facility, you're going to get a lot of individual instruction, but you're also, it is important to have some group therapy and things like that. And, you know, I would imagine that they're going to make some lifelong friends.
Absolutely.
They're going to meet people they've never met before.
Yeah.
And they had problems just like them. And now they're all working together and individually to solve their problems and to become a better person again. And so that probably helps. That small group helps to kind of cheer each other on.
No, it absolutely does. And we've actually been very proud of the fact we've had an organic alumni association.
Oh, I was going to ask if you have somebody that's, see, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, and we're really lucky to have this been spearheaded by a lot of our graduates and people that have gone through the program to where they've been keeping in close contact with not only the people that they went through the program with, but reaching out to other graduates of other cohorts, and you know, they're working to get together to do social activities like go to a ball game or go canoeing, or just being resources for each other. I know we've got one young man that does like a weekly Facebook video talking about kind of his journey in recovery and putting that out there. And so, you know, much like Danielle, the idea that, you know, people that have gone through the process are sometimes the best people to, you know, encourage those that are still struggling. We want to make sure that our alumni are, advocates out there for mental health and substance abuse treatment, and they're building those positive pro-social supports to where they can build their own safety net and not necessarily have to fall back into, more aggressive forms of treatment.
Well, one last thing. So you talked about the holistic approach, which I think is extremely important. And I don't think anything can be accomplished without God and a real belief and know who God is. But, what else would you say that might set your two facilities apart? Is there something else that we don't want to forget that maybe that you're really proud of that your facility does?
Absolutely. And that is just the attention to detail and getting the right people in to give the right information. Everyone can have their opinion, but we have, licensed personal trainers, licensed nutritionists. We have, just a whole host of people. Everything we do is, research based, and our job is to present the best information humanly possible to cover every aspect of the person's life, be it from physical discomfort to trying to get control of their diet to manage diabetes, to dealing with, just in general chronic pain, or, becoming more active and finding avenues. It's like, Danielle was talking, and I talked a little bit about substance abuse isn't just, hey, I like this drug. It is the fact that nothing else in my life is working. And so rather than just going to a cinder block strip mall and being told drugs are bad, we truly sit there and say, great, this is how to feel better. And we will help our clients, regardless of their need, find those things that give their life value and meaning and purpose. So that way it's not just, I don't like how I feel. It's, I feel better and I want to do better.
Well, your Facebook page, what is it?
Synergy Executive. You can find us on Facebook. So we try and keep things simple. Just
well, so look that up, because honestly, when I looked that up earlier this week and then again last night, beautiful pictures of both facilities. And when you look at those pictures, you're going to go, wow. That's what I told you when you first opened up 2 years ago when I did the ribbon cutting. I said, hey, if you ever had an empty room just for the weekend, I could do all those sports and do all those fun things.
Absolutely.
And just kind of, it was like being at Big Cedar Resort, some 5-star resort someplace. And I thought, hey, I'll do that.
Now, a lot of people, have to think they have to travel to a coast like Florida or California to get this caliber of treatment. And a lot of people are just incredibly surprised that we are in their backyard. And that's the thing, is that we want to bring that care and expertise and comfort and dignity to recovering from addiction, that people have to travel for, but here in the Ozarks, and support people whenever they're ready to take that step.
Well, and very, very personal, very discreet, very private, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, so that's another reason why people come from other states, obviously. They've got an issue, they've got a problem that they're dealing with, and they haven't been successful, but they probably may not want everyone in their community to know about it. And so I think that's another selling point for the quality. During our series, Don and I are going to have on Jordan Valley, which is my daughter works there. She's a clinical director there, and Mandy. And then also we've got a nonprofit that's going to be on our show that does the same thing as you guys do. It's a lot smaller scale, obviously. But we need all price ranges, because, where Mandy works, they take Medicaid and they have a lot of poorer clients and things like that, but they're extremely important people. And so we're going to cover the whole spectrum. We started honestly at the top. I really think you guys are at the top of the level of what you do, and excellent at what you do. And so somebody out there may say, hey, that's what I want to do. You do private insurance, right?
Yes, we do take private insurance. Unfortunately, we aren't licensed to be able to take Medicaid or Medicare. Right. But, as you mentioned, we are truly blessed to have a number of just amazing facilities to address this particular issue in this area. We, work at a certain particular level, and that's okay. It is finding what is going to work for you, and we're glad to offer an option in that field.
Right. Well, we just wanted to make sure we included you guys first. I know you guys are extremely busy this week. I really appreciate you coming because I just wanted to start with facilities in my own district, District 140, Christian County, and basically Rogersville's almost right there. So Don, we're running out of time. What do we always say?
Be the change. See us next
thanks.
week.
We'll be there next week.
1, 2, 3. Can I get a hoorah from a patriot like me? Can I get an amen? Do I hear a hallelujah?